Today, there are more displaced people in the world than at any other time in history, and each of the 44 million people who find themselves in this situation has a different story to tell. Refugees International Japan is one of the NPOs on IKIFO's platform doing great work. We met up with CEO Jane Best to find out more about the kind of work they are doing.
I've been involved in some way or another. I started after college as a volunteer in Zambia. I was working there through a British volunteer scheme, and so it's just something I discovered was my passion. And so I've continued it in different ways in different places I've been, and then I've been in Japan for a long time, but around 2000 I found I had a bit more time, and I joined RIJ as a volunteer. In 2006 I took on the role full time. Some of our projects are kind of very much community-based projects, and the Baby Kids program is also obviously community-based, but it's a program you can see very clearly what your money is going towards. Mothers in camps and in internally displaced circumstances have a lot of problems, obviously, hygiene and that kind of thing, and knowledge. And some people even end up, running from their villages and giving birth in the jungles. So these baby kits fulfill a very important purpose. Infant mortality is very high in refugee camps, about 60%, I think, compared to other areas, which is we hope it's not as high.
Yes.
And so these kits, they serve several purposes, to provide the mothers with soap and the wraps and that kind of thing, but also information. There's a health message in the pack, so it's telling them how to look after their baby and so on and so forth. And I think the other thing which I think is quite interesting to think is that what one of the mothers actually said, that somebody is thinking of Japan made all the difference. So I think it serves a lot of purposes. It's very nice. Fundraising for refugees in conflict situations is it's not very close to people's hearts. It doesn't mean that people don't care, but you can't see refugees, you don't think it's going to happen to you. And so that is the biggest challenge, is bringing the stories home to people and explaining why it's why it's important to help. And it's not a question of not wanting to, it's not knowing, I think, how to help and what difference that people can make. So I think I'm certain that that's the biggest challenge, is to make it real to people. And the way to do that is to bring home the stories. And like the lady who said, the fact that you're thinking about me,
That's kind of
is the best way to get around it. And then, why do... The humanitarian side is obvious, it's awful to think of people suffering so much or lacking the opportunities that we lack. But in addition to that, this is all about world development, world advancement, and that all costs money. And so it does relate to all of us, and in some way we've got to bring that story home. I think it's essential, absolutely essential, and people should be able to see how it's monitored and what the results are of it, and not just to say, oh, I've given that money for that, but that project, but to see what the benefit of that and what the long-term results are. I think that's essential. And we publish all the projects on our website, and we're starting to fill in the results now as we work. We've got our intern program working on that. Well, for the reasons I mentioned a little bit earlier, we can get close up. We can tell them what difference they're making, and we're a small group. There are lots of great groups out there who are doing, looking after the bigger programs, infrastructure programs, large volumes of people. What we can do is we can get up close to the communities in our funding. We're looking at the people, which in some ways is also a difficult sell, because we're not saying, look, we've built a hospital. But what we are saying is that this can make a difference to somebody's lives, and we can bring back the stories of how your funding has impacted on individuals and the difference it's made to the communities. And so if you want to hear about things firsthand like that, it's a very good reason to support Refugees International Japan.
Definitely. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.